The moon cast an eerie glow on the tranquil lake as I embarked on my solitary fishing expedition. The night was still, and the only sounds were the gentle lapping of water against the sides of my small boat and the occasional croak of a distant frog. I'd always found solace in fishing, a way to escape the hustle and bustle of city life. But tonight would be different. Tonight, I would uncover a terror that would haunt my dreams for years to come. I settled into the creaky wooden boat, the scent of the freshly cut bait stinging my nostrils. With each cast of my line, the ripples in the water seemed to stretch endlessly, creating distorted reflections of the surrounding trees. The forest loomed dark and impenetrable on the shore, a wall of blackness that gave me a sense of isolation. Hours passed, and my patience began to wane. My fishing rod lay limp, and my eyelids grew heavy. But just as I contemplated packing up for the night, something tugged at my line. Startled, I jerked the rod, my heart racing as I felt resistance. Whatever was on the other end was powerful, pulling me forward in the boat. With every tug, the water splashed around me, and I could barely make out a dark shape struggling beneath the surface. It was massive, whatever it was, and I strained to reel it in. Beads of sweat formed on my brow as I fought to maintain my grip on the rod. The line stretched and groaned under the strain. Finally, with one last mighty heave, I managed to hoist the creature onto the boat's floor. My breath caught in my throat as I beheld it, a massive, grotesque fish unlike any I had ever seen. Its scales were a sickly shade of green, and its mouth was lined with razor-sharp teeth that jutted out at odd angles. It writhed and thrashed, emitting guttural, otherworldly growls that sent shivers down my spine. Panic overcame me, and I fumbled for my flashlight. As the beam pierced the darkness, I saw something even more horrifying. The lake, once serene and tranquil, was now teeming with these monstrous fish, their eyes glowing with an unnatural malevolence. They were converging on my boat, their grotesque forms breaking the surface as they closed in. Terrified, I reached for the oars and began to row back to shore, but the fish were relentless. They leaped out of the water, their cold, slimy bodies brushing against my legs, their teeth gnashing in the darkness. Panic set in as I realized I was trapped, surrounded by these nightmarish creatures. Desperation pushed me to grab a nearby tackle box, and with trembling hands, I searched for anything that might fend off the relentless horde. My fingers closed around a rusty old harpoon. I raised it high and thrust it into the water, impaling one of the creatures. It let out a deafening screech and convulsed before sinking beneath the surface. With newfound determination, I fought back, impaling one fish after another. Their numbers began to dwindle, but the battle raged on, and my body ached with exhaustion. The water around the boat ran red with their blood, and their agonized cries echoed through the night. Finally, with one last thrust of the harpoon, I vanquished the last of the hideous creatures. The lake returned to an eerie calm, the moonlight once again casting its gentle glow. My heart pounded in my chest, and I sat there, trembling and covered in the remnants of my gruesome battle. As I surveyed the gruesome scene, I couldn't help but wonder what had driven these abominations to the surface. Had they been lurking in the depths all along, waiting for the right moment to strike? Or had something sinister called them forth from their watery lair? I knew one thing for certain. I would never return to that lake again. My peaceful sanctuary had become a nightmare, a place of unspeakable horror. The memory of that night would forever haunt my dreams, a reminder that in the darkness of the unknown, there are terrors beyond imagination, lurking just beneath the surface. Exhausted and shaken, I navigated my small boat back to the shore, the taste of victory tainted by the lingering dread that gnawed at my mind. The lake had become a place of nightmares, a sinister enigma that begged to be unraveled. In the days that followed my harrowing encounter, I couldn't escape the memory of those grotesque fish and their unearthly aggression. My curiosity got the better of me, and I began to research the lake's history, hoping to find some answers. It didn't take long before I stumbled upon a name that sent shivers down my spine. Professor Elias Blackwood, a reclusive marine biologist who had mysteriously vanished while conducting research on the very same lake over a decade ago. Rumors circulated about his obsession with an elusive species of fish, said to possess strange and terrifying abilities. I became obsessed with unraveling the mysteries of that lake, driven by a compulsion I couldn't explain. I scoured libraries and scoured the internet for any information about Professor Blackwood's research. Finally, I discovered an old journal tucked away in the archives of a university library, a journal that had never been published. As I leafed through the pages, I found myself transported into Blackwood's world. His meticulous notes described his obsession with the lake and the creatures that dwelled within its depths. According to his writings, the fish were no ordinary species, but a breed of ancient, predatory monsters that had been dormant for centuries. Blackwood had believed that they possessed a malevolent intelligence, a hive mind that allowed them to coordinate their actions and protect their territory. He had speculated that their aggression could be triggered by certain environmental factors or disturbances in the lake. But what chilled me to the bone was Blackwood's theory that these creatures were not native to our world. He believed they were interdimensional beings, drawn to our reality by some unknown force. He had written cryptic warnings about the lake being a portal to other realms, a gateway to the abyss. Armed with Blackwood's research, I returned to the lake, compelled by a desire to understand the true nature of the horrors I had encountered. I had to know if the professor's theories held any truth, or if he had descended into madness in his pursuit of the Abyssal Secrets. As night fell once again, I rode out into the inky darkness of the lake. This time, I came prepared with a waterproof camera, hoping to document any evidence that would support Blackwood's claims. I cast my line into the water, not with the intention of catching those abominable fish, but to draw them out and observe their behavior. Hours passed, and the lake remained eerily calm. Doubts crept in, and I questioned my own sanity for returning to this accursed place. Just as I was about to call it quits, I felt a faint tug on my line, a subtle hint that something was lurking beneath. With bated breath, I watched as the water's surface broke, and a single monstrous fish emerged, its sickly green scales shimmering in the moonlight. It was different from the others, larger and more grotesque, its eyes gleaming with an unsettling intelligence. It seemed to regard me with a malevolent awareness. Slowly, I lowered the waterproof camera into the water, capturing the creature's image as it circled my boat. The fish moved with a deliberate grace, as if testing my presence, and I could feel the oppressive weight of its gaze. It was as if the abyss itself stared back at me through those dark, unblinking eyes. Just as I thought I had pushed my luck too far, the fish let out a series of haunting clicks and whistles, a language of its own. It was a chorus of dread, an eerie communication that sent chills down my spine. It wasn't just a random encounter. This creature was trying to convey something I couldn't comprehend. In the distance, I heard the faint echoing sounds of more fish joining the macabre choir. They surrounded me, their voices growing louder and more urgent. It was as if they were warning me, telling me to leave this place before it was too late. As I hastily reeled in my line, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had ventured too deep into the abyss. The camera had captured something extraordinary, something that defied all rational explanation. It was a glimpse into the unknown, a confirmation that Blackwood's theories were not the ramblings of a madman. I rowed back to shore, my heart heavy with the weight of what I had witnessed. The footage I had captured was both a revelation and a curse. It offered a tantalizing glimpse into the abyssal secrets of the lake, but left me with more questions than answers. Over the weeks that followed, I pored over the footage, dissecting every frame in search of clues. The fish's behavior was undeniably intelligent, but their motives remained a baffling enigma. What were they guarding? What lay hidden in the depths of the lake that warranted such ferocious protection? My obsession grew, and I couldn't resist the call of the lake, even as it whispered its warnings to me. I was determined to uncover the truth, to delve deeper into the abyss and unlock the secrets that had eluded Professor Elias Blackwood. Little did I know that my relentless pursuit of knowledge would lead me to a revelation beyond my wildest nightmares, a truth that would plunge me into a world of darkness and despair from which there might be no escape. The days turned into weeks, and my obsession with the lake and its abyssal secrets consumed me. I couldn't sleep, eat, or focus on anything but the haunting mystery that had taken hold of my life. Each night, I ventured out onto the dark waters, hoping to glean more insight from the enigmatic fish that guarded the depths. The fish became increasingly aggressive, their numbers swelling with each passing night. It was as if they sensed my intrusion into their domain and were determined to drive me away. Yet, I couldn't tear myself away from the relentless pursuit of knowledge, from the allure of the abyss. One fateful night, as I ventured farther from the shore than ever before, I noticed something peculiar beneath the water's surface. It was a faint, ethereal glow, a shimmering portal that beckoned me closer. My heart raced with both fear and anticipation as I approached the luminous anomaly. I extended a trembling hand toward the glowing rift, feeling a strange, tingling sensation as my fingers made contact with the surface of the water. It was as if I had touched something both cold and electric, a connection to a realm beyond our own. I couldn't resist the temptation to explore further. With a deep breath, I plunged my head into the glowing portal, submerging myself in the icy depths of the lake. As I descended into the otherworldly realm, I felt a profound sense of displacement, as if I were a stranger in a foreign land. The world around me was a surreal dreamscape, a nightmarish fusion of alien landscapes and twisted, abstract forms. I could see the grotesque fish swimming in the distance, their bodies contorted and elongated, their eyes glowing with an eerie luminescence. It was as if they were the guardians of this bizarre dimension, the masters of the abyss. As I swam deeper into the abyss, I became aware of a presence, a malevolent force that seemed to watch me from the shadows. It was a sensation of being hunted, of being the prey in a predatory game. Panic gripped me as I realized that I had ventured too far, that I had crossed a threshold into a realm where I was no longer welcome. Suddenly, I was surrounded by a horde of the grotesque fish, their nightmarish forms closing in on me. They moved with an unnatural grace, their razor-sharp teeth gleaming in the surreal light. I knew that I was trapped, that there was no escape from this abyssal nightmare. With a surge of desperate energy, I swam toward the glowing portal, my heart pounding in my chest. The fish pursued me relentlessly, their jaws snapping at my heels. It was a frantic race against time, a battle for my very survival. As I reached the portal, I felt a searing pain in my leg, and I cried out in agony. One of the fish had managed to sink its teeth into me, its venomous bite sending shockwaves of pain through my body. I could feel my strength waning, my vision blurring as darkness closed in. With one final, desperate effort, I propelled myself through the portal and back into the lake's familiar waters. The transition was disorienting, a jarring return to reality. I gasped for breath, my body racked with pain, and I could see the fish retreating back into the depths of the lake, their malevolent presence fading away. I managed to swim back to the surface and pull myself into the boat, my body trembling with exhaustion and pain. I had glimpsed the abyss, ventured into a realm beyond comprehension, and narrowly escaped with my life. But I had paid a heavy price for my curiosity, my body bearing the scars of that harrowing journey. As I rowed back to shore, I couldn't help but wonder if Professor Elias Blackwood had experienced a similar fate, if he had been drawn into the abyss in his relentless pursuit of knowledge. Had he become one with the monstrous fish, a guardian of the gateway to the otherworldly realm? I knew one thing for certain. The lake held secrets that were not meant to be uncovered, mysteries that defied human understanding. I had danced on the precipice of madness, and I had been lucky to escape with my life. The abyss had called to me, lured me into its depths, but I had learned a sobering lesson about the limits of human curiosity. As I reached the shore, I turned one last longing glance at the lake, the moon casting its eerie glow on the water's surface. It was a beautiful and treacherous place, a sanctuary of nightmares and wonders. I knew I would never return, that the abyssal secrets would remain forever shrouded in darkness. With a heavy heart, I left the lake behind, haunted by the knowledge that some mysteries are best left unexplored, that the abyss will always beckon, but its depths are fraught with peril. In the end, I had escaped its clutches, but I would carry the scars of that fateful journey for the rest of my days, a constant reminder of the price of curiosity and the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of the world.